Hello, hello, hello. My name is Charles. They call me Sir Charles, and I'm back. I'm on the channel known as the God Principles. However, I have gone through several rebranding challenges, and now I'm restarting the channel based on a new direction. I'm letting you know I'm back. I have been on hiatus for a year in order to discover some things. And I now think it's time that I come out and explain what has been going on. If you look back at my content, I had run into some health issues and I had been dealing with physical health issues. But then when I went into isolation to look at where my mental issues are, and I'm going to cover that, and then where I wanted this channel to go. What you should know is this: I am from IT, digital marketing, and brand strategy. So the purpose of the channel was to build a business from the Asian Pacific, but it also had a dual purpose. I am a recovering drug addict from Narcotics Anonymous. This month, August 18th, I will be celebrating 11 years clean from alcohol and drugs. It's a huge milestone for me. But it also, in the last year, I've been watching what's been going on in the Philippines and what's been going on in my life and what's been going on with the expats here in the Philippines. And so I want to cover three areas: living in the Philippines, healing in the Philippines, and building in the Philippines. That is going to be the direction for this channel from now on. First topic: living in the Philippines. I'm now into my 4th year in the Philippines. And so therefore, I've been on the ground for quite a while. I've learned some things and I've healed a lot. What I've discovered is that the diet and food here in the Philippines has some consequences. And if you are not aware of them, you will run into the same issues that I ran into. Became a type 2 diabetic. My blood pressure changed. And this all relates to healing in the Philippines. But I've spent the last year getting my medical issues straight. I finally have my blood pressure under control, and the diabetes is under control. They put me on metformin, and I have some statin drugs. And the other issues I was struggling with was swelling of my feet and eruptions breaking out on my legs. It was coming from the diabetes, but also I had lymph node issues. The lymph nodes in my legs had become clogged, and it was causing my legs to swell. It was actually, in my thigh area. I could press there and it was painful. So I've taken some home remedies. Well, not home remedies, really. online remedies to flush the lymph nodes. I've gotten on the medication, and things are now into a positive direction. Henceforth, that's why I'm coming back here on YouTube, because there's something else I discovered while I was sitting back and I was going through a process of recovery about discovering what was in my subconscious mind. And that is the real part of healing in the Philippines. What I have discovered is that people coming here, expats, they come here from what we call a hyper-vigilant state. What does that mean? We've been in that 9 to 5 grind for 20 and 30 or 40 years, jumping into traffic, handling crisis and problems in our life. And we have never taken the time to take a look at what it had done to us. And what I noticed is that when I came here, what happened is I had to detox from that hypervigilant state. It took me at least a year to get used to not hearing gunshots or ambulances. And that was the first adjustment that I had to heal from, because my nervous system was so used to it. When it was absent, it caused stress. These are the things that we learn in recovering from drug and alcohol abuse. But it goes deeper, because I'm seeing two things on YouTube. Number one, talking about what Filipinos want from a men, and I just saw another one that talked about how Filipino men feel about older men and younger women. Okay, let's cover it. Let's get down with it. In Jungian psychology, he has a statement: until you make the subconscious conscious, it will run your life and you will call it fate. I see people talking their opinion about men not seeing red flags, or they're being simps. What I have discovered comes from my recovery background, because not only am I a recovering drug addict, I am also a drug and alcohol recovery coach. So I've had to get a certification in this just to understand how I could help others. Now, how does all this start? In my background, we learn in recovery that something happened to me and a lot of other people that are addicts around the age of 3 or 4. In my case, it was the death of my mother. I was 4 years old. It left me in a state of shock and trauma that I grew up with. Couple that with I was raised by my aunt, my step-grandmother, and my father's third wife. None of them had children. So none of them had nurturing ability. It left me with a partially formed personality because in that age group from 4 to 7, that is when our subconscious is formed. That body language, the communication skills that we learn subconsciously comes from our mother. It's in Jungian psychology, it's called the mother wound, but there's also the father wound. The next piece of the puzzle is I was raised in a dysfunctional family. There was a lot of turmoil and arguing. All of this contributed to the formulation of my personality. There was no alcohol or drugs involved in my family. However, when I come here to the Philippines, alcohol and drugs have affected this society to the core. To the core. And the men here are emasculated. That's not only my opinion. Dave Chappelle, the comedian who's married to a Filipina, he came out on stage and said it. That the women here have gone through so much problems with the men that they are emotionally abusive and damaged. And I sat with dozens of men, and they all have told me these horror stories. I mean, there's so many horror stories that you can make a YouTube channel about that alone. The horror stories of between expats and Filipino women, y'all don't know the half of it. Y'all, it's like, it's really glossed over. You have women talking about what they want from an expat, and no one talks about the other side of the coin. The other side of the coin is, what is the mental state of these two individuals? And it is causing a huge issue. I'm going to bring up two real stories. Joe Go Philippines. Now, I watched his intro into the Philippines. It's on my channel. I'm going to relist it. He talked about how when he got here, he noticed he had never lived his life for himself. He had spotted the hypervigilance and the matrix lifestyle that we were conditioned to, and we need to detox from it. And secondly, the other part, there's a person on my channel, her name is Michelle, where I was taking her through a counseling session because she wanted to buy a business here in the Philippines. She was raised in Australia. Her mother was Filipina. And her trauma, her mother had a child at an early age from a police officer. And when she went to introduce Michelle to her father, he did not want to have anything to do with her. So she was traumatized. Her mother went to Australia and married an Australian man. He was nice. However, he didn't have no children. So he was a nice guy, But the nurturing she needed, he didn't give it to her either. And therefore, she became an alcoholic. And she has some emotional abuse. And she is on psych meds. And her personality type, and I'm going to put this out here, I wouldn't marry one of them because women have a self-destruct button inside their emotions that they may not even be aware of. I'm going to come up and bring that video up in a future episode about healing in the Philippines, because the channel is going to be about Founder's Paradise. Founder's Paradise is going to be about building a business as a founder in the tech community. This is going to go into how to use AI, how to build a digital income so that you can enjoy the freedom of leaving environments and live in an environment which is more conducive to your freedom. The story I use is this. When I was 7 years old, I used to go down to Pascagoula, Mississippi, and stay with my grandparents. Now, my granddad, he had developed a fishing business. And when we came down, they said, "Boy, you're going fishing with me." We used to go fishing 6 days a week. Up at 5, on the water at 6. We trove for shrimp and crabs. After we caught that, we take the bait. We go fishing. We get our catch. We come back in. We clean it. He would take it to Piggly Wiggly, sell part of his catch there. Then he had his local customers, and he did that until he couldn't do it anymore. But here's the thing. To show you how unconscious I was, I never thought it was work. I didn't. I thought it was fun. It really was. But what I learned is when you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life. Because retirement is an illusion. Back to the illusions. What we've learned, what I have learned in the process of my recovery has to do with why these expats are fooled by the illusion. The illusion is this. When we smile, we automatically produce a chemical, and it causes us to feel better. It reduces the fear and anxiety. So when we come over here and we're around all of these people that are smiling and they're cordial, they're wearing these, what we call masks of social acceptance. And so we're reacting to it, smiling back. We have a song, Smiling Faces Tell Lies. And the truth is, we're smiling back. We're getting chemical releases. If we go to hug, because that is not a normal social grace, it was eliminated from our normal society because of the Spanish flu. But when you hug someone, you release a chemical called oxytocin, and it reduces fear and anxiety. The same thing that a smile does. And now you're looking at these Asian women whose eyes are upside down like a smile. And subconsciously, it is triggering these feel-good feelings in addition to being in the sun, and you're getting more vitamin D. So the truth is that we're living in a feel-good illusion that's really not there. We got two damaged people coming together and don't know what's going on. Now, the last piece is this. Founder's Paradise. This channel, I'm going to be showing you how to build digital products that you can sell online. How to build your personal brand. Because what is going on, back in 2008, Eric Schmidt, CEO of Google, he said this: the internet is a cesspool of misinformation, and brands are the solution. And what I do is I help build brand authority. Because what has upset me so much is a lot of the misinformation coming up about the Philippines. Because I'm sitting at the doorway of America and Philippines, my feed shows me both sides of the world. There are things you don't see in the Philippines, and there are things in the States that people don't see. However, the people that follow my content, they do. And I'm going to bring that to you. I'm going to bring you point of view videos showing how I live here in the Philippines. I'm going to talk about healing in the Philippines and running into situations where I've been taken advantage of because of my kindness, and that is a flaw. Kindness is considered a weakness. It is a flaw. During the last year, I have had to deal with what is called the shadows in my personality. And I've had to develop stronger boundaries that I don't accept. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tell you something. I'm really not interested in being in well, yes, I am. I would like a relationship, but I don't trust it because I know these women have these uh, envy and jealousy issues. Yeah, I'll tell you about this one. The Filipino that I came over here with, it lasted 7 months. I didn't know anything about the starter relationship. They pick you off because you are not knowledgeable about what's going on. After 7 months, the truth came out. And it was inevitable. It was like the universe wanted me to know. One, her sister's boyfriend ended up in jail because he got caught with drugs. Now realize that's a no-no in my world because I'm from drug recovery, and I know that circumstances will come up just because you associate with them. My last girlfriend in the States, her brother was in a car going to a gas station with one of his friends. But his friend didn't tell him he was going there to make a delivery. And when they got there was a shootout. And her brother got killed. And it got so bad, it was in the news in Milwaukee. And the guy that was driving blamed it on her brother, who had nothing to do with it. And her family was not able to get burial assistance because the guy driving the car told him it was him doing it, and it wasn't. See, these are consequences of dealing with drugs and alcohol that I'm seeing over here. Expats come over here and they're dealing with these emotional issues and don't know that they're putting drugs and alcohol on their feelings. And right now, where I'm staying at 10 o'clock in the morning, some of them start at 7 o'clock in the morning drinking beer, getting drunk every day. That's what's really going on over here. Dealing with people that are coming out of alcoholic relationships with their mothers, fathers. In the case of me, her brother had been stuck on some drug that they smoking over here. And that's what gets me is like, how the heck is these drugs getting on these islands? Somebody told me about it when I landed here. I'll cover that in a later video. But if you need to find a way to make income above your normal income stream, I will be covering that live. I'm doing this live event now, and in the future, it's going to be building in public where I show you how I build software using AI, how to find the opportunities that you can apply in your own life. Because the real thing that's going on right now is that they're using AI to kill off all this misinformation. That's why you see YouTube channels disappearing. It's happening on every social media channel. And if you don't have the authority to be talking about what you're doing, you're going to get flagged and removed. So if you're over here talking about, like in my case, I'm talking about living in the Philippines, brand strategy, recovering from drug and alcohols. But if you look in AI and ask it about me, you will see that it knows about my certifications, my business, and my background, which spans 45 years working with Fortune 500 companies like Motorola, McDonald's, Burger King. I mean, a who's who in the American business world. If you like this content, I'd appreciate it if you click like and share and subscribe, because on a weekly basis, I'm going to be going online live to discuss these particular issues. The next one is going to be about building in public. I'm going to show you the Maverick Advantage Design platform that I built, what it does, and then you can use this in order to figure out what you can build. And also, I'm going to leave a link in the description for an assessment. So that if you're dealing with some psych issues, some issues about relationships, drinking, this particular assessment is designed to help you to identify why you're doing what you're doing. Because we have a saying, if drugs and alcohol is the solution, then what is the question? My name is Sir Charles. I want to thank you for watching.